So as I'm recording this video, we are just a few days away from the release of the third and final Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Well, James Gunn's conclusion to the trilogy. And I should want to go see it because I'm a lifelong comics fan. I have grown up with superhero stuff. Like, I'm a huge Marvel fan, right? I should say, like, I grew up with, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies and Batman 89 and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and the Super Friends cartoon. Seeing what these comic properties have become on the big screen has been wonderful. And I liked the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The second one felt a little overstuffed to me. And I did not care for the Suicide Squad, which I wrote a review. If you want to know what I think about that, I wrote a review, and maybe I'll link to it right here or in the description of this video. So I don't know. I don't actually want to go. Like, I feel like I should go see the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but I don't really want to go. So I'm facing this conflict. I'm like, well, you are the comic book fan, Heath. You do have a channel. In addition to Serial at Midnight, I started a comic book podcast, comic book geek culture podcast, back in 2007, where I was talking about this stuff to see what has happened to geek culture over the last 10 years, really probably since 2008, has been wonderful. But at the same time, do I have to like all of it? Do I have to support all of it just because I was here at the beginning of it? Letting some of this go has been hard for me, but it's also been kind of freeing at the same time. I'll give you an example of identity from fandom. So I was the Star Wars kid in high school. If you had a Star Wars kid in your high school, that was me. I wore the t-shirts when it wasn't cool. I remember my senior psychology class instructor, my teacher, she came up to me quietly. We were doing something, and she was like, "Why do you do this?" And I was like, "Do what?" She was like, "You make yourself an outsider. You wear these clothes that don't fit in. Why do you do this? What's your reason for doing this?" I don't think she was trying to condemn me. I think she just really wanted to know, like, what makes you want to stand aside, stand apart? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't have an answer. I was taking identity through what I loved. And back then, it was like, if you wore a Star Wars shirt, you paid a price for it, but it also built a subculture with the other people that felt the same way. So much so, like, I was always reading the comics and the books, the novels and things, hundreds of books. So a family member just passed away, and I went to the funeral, and I saw one of my cousins that I haven't seen in 19 years. And she said, "I was so ashamed to tell you this, but I have to tell you this. I haven't seen all the new Star Wars movies, and I knew you'd be so disappointed with me." Now that, guys, that's hardcore right there. That's how I was viewed. And I said, no, please. I was like, listen, I would have cared so much about that 20 years ago, 15, even 10, 5 years ago maybe. But I was like, I can't even keep up with all the Star Wars now. Don't worry about it. Just do what makes you happy. And that's really what it comes down to, is I've had to realize now, since Disney bought Star Wars, even before that, I wrestled with the prequels. At the time when I'm talking about high school, we're talking about original trilogy. We're talking about the 90s when there were only 3 movies. The special editions hadn't even happened yet. So I struggled through the prequels and took what I could from those, like, well, I like this, but I don't like this. That was kind of my training for this, I suppose. And then with Disney buying Star Wars and just like cranking out, they're like, okay, we got to make back billions and billions of dollars as quickly as possible. So we're going to have Star Wars, everything. That's when I really said, oh, I don't love all of this. I'm not connecting with all of this like I wish I could. So I had to step back, think about it, and go, okay, well, I should just love what I love. And if I don't love it, I should be okay saying, that's not for me. I don't have to take my identity from Star Wars just because I like Star Wars. So I don't know, it's been part of this process of me letting go with certain things. Like, I'm a huge comic book fan. I love Spider-Man. I love the X-Men. I can't keep up with everything that's going on. There's like 26 Spider-Man titles every single month. I can't keep up with all of that. I can't keep up with every Avengers comic. By the same token, I can't support every single comic book movie in the theater or even watch it when it comes to... There's comic book movies, Marvel movies, I have not even watched. And I don't know that I ever will. Because I just find a little bit of diminishing returns. I know what I like, and I know that at this point, a lot of us are feeling burned out with Marvel. Can we still be Marvel fans if we're not seeing every single movie that comes out from Marvel? I think we can. Can we still be a Disney fan if we don't go see the new Little Mermaid remake or the live action version of The Little Mermaid? I think we can. But there's this built-in barrier. There's a gate there that says, no, you can't. You have to watch this stuff. I think part of it's the companies wanting to monetize us, wanting to make as much money off of us as they can. I think part of it is the tribalism, and that's a very academic word, but I think that's what it is these tribes build, they rise up around these subjects. I saw it majorly, this was sort of a turning point for me with modern fandom, with the Kevin Smith He-Man and the Masters of the Universe show that he did for Netflix. And what it came down to was there were a lot of people who said, this is what He-Man has been for me, this is mine. You don't get to come over here. This is the line. This is my He-Man fandom. You don't get. There was a lot of like gatekeeping going on there, and that's always a danger in fandom, especially when you're getting your identity from fandom, because you want to protect things. So when all that stuff happened with the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe show from Netflix, I started thinking about like how fans are engaging with this stuff, and we see so much hate watching and so much just anger in fandom in general. And I kind of wanted to explore that. I was even thinking about maybe a documentary about fan culture and how maybe it's changed over time. Because listen, I'm from a different generation. You talk to Star Trek fans from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. You talk to comic book fans, Doctor Who guys. The fandom in those days was a lot smaller, but it was intimate. And like you'd meet at a library or like a convention center room, like a convention or a conference room, that kind of a thing. There was small fandoms, but it was really passionate, and it like there was a sense of identity that we got from that. Now fandom is a product. It's being sold to us. You know, these anime conventions, all the conventions, but especially anime conventions and comic book conventions, it's about what you're buying. It's about how much you're spending and all that. I put my Criterion collection in view because people were saying to me, you're not a real movie fan because you don't have a huge Criterion collection. I was like, don't you know that Criterion reissues a lot of movies that have already been on Blu-ray? Like, I don't have to have the Criterion version to be familiar with that movie. But there was this weird gatekeeping that was going on where, oh, you're not a true fan. You guys, I got an email just a couple of days ago from this guy wanting to promote his new business endeavor. He was trying to get me to hype his new thing. And I didn't do it. I didn't even respond to it because I was thinking about how I wanted to approach it. And he came back and he's like, thanks a lot. I thought you were a true fan. What a weird gatekeeping thing to say, but that's so much like identity from fandom. It's like, oh, this is what I am. I'm the 80s guy. I'm the VHS guy. I'm the Star Wars guy. I'm the horror guy. This is who I am. That's good, but it's also like, are we costing ourselves in the long run? I don't know. This is the things that I think about. This is how my brain works. This is like, I'm like, if I go see Guardians of the Galaxy, it's probably not going to make me happy because I've had diminishing returns, unless it's amazing. And from what I hear, it's not. It's mixed. Do I do myself a disservice if I stay home and just decide not to participate in that? I don't know. It's hard because I've been wired for this since the day I was born. Growing up in the 1980s in that deregulated Reagan economy when children were directly advertised to, like Happy Meal toys and cereal box premiums, like that is my generation. And it taught us your identity from fandom. This is who you are. You know, we were 80s kids. We love Transformers and G.I. Joe. And you got to read it all, man. You got to watch all these. Hey, that G.I. Joe movie doesn't look great, but we got to go because we're a true fan. All right, let's talk about horror fans for just a second. Like, horror fans are so passionate. The horror community is so tight-knit. They take care of each other. Out of horror comes projects geared to horror fans. At the same time, let's be honest, horror is the most exploited genre in any medium. Horror outsells everything. Horror fans feel like they're a minority, but horror fans are the most targeted audience in any medium. Because they sell more than any other audience. Horror fans will buy any edition of something like it's a really wonderful thing, but at the same time, it's potential grounds for exploitation too. So I don't know. I don't have any answers for this. This is not meant to be hey, let's solve all the problems with the world. Like, if I don't go see The Little Mermaid, I can still like the original Little Mermaid, right? I'm still a Disney fan. I still like those songs, right? I still grew up with The Little Mermaid. Am I obligated to go see it just because it's there? I say no. For me, no. The answer is no. But am I going to go see the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie? I mean, I might. I might. Because it's hard. It's hard to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Because there's curiosity. I just feel like I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out. I have fear of missing out on an experience. I don't know. This stuff gets wired into us really deeply. Identity, fandom, overlapping. Is it a good thing? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. Are we doing the things that serve us best? for our own? Are we doing what's best for our fandom? I guess that's the question. What do you think? We got a lot to talk about. Please continue the conversation in the comments below. This is meant to be a jumping off point, so please engage in the comments. Please engage in the dialogue, because I think through talking this out from different viewpoints, maybe we can come to some sort of an understanding, grow a little bit. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Take care. Till next time, I will catch you later.